whistle in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6-6. Kane coming in. Jameson Williams, he's got it. Touchdown, Lions. Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores. Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
What a night, huh? What a thrilling night. Andy McDonald was there at LCA. We got plenty to talk about regarding the Pistons' opening win over the Cavs last night. Cleveland helped them out a little bit that we'll get into here shortly. But first and foremost, the Pistons take game one, and they do it in rather convincing fashion, even though if you look at a box score, if you didn't watch the game, just looked at a box score, you would say, pretty close game. And I suppose to a certain extent it was, although Detroit was up at one point by 18 points in the first half, leading by that much, where Donovan Mitchell, who had scored 33 points per game in career game ones in his career, only Michael Jordan had scored more, and yet Detroit's defense able to clamp down and do what it's supposed to do against him and against other Cavs players. James Harden, hell, you look at Jared Allen, did absolutely nothing. Mitchell did lead Cleveland with 23, but was 9 of 19 and 4 of 10 from deep. Detroit gets the nice balanced attack, and the final score rings true and has us smiling. 111-101. Detroit forced 20 turnovers. Turned those turnovers into 31 points, which I thought was the key to the game. They also grabbed 15 offensive rebounds. Cunningham leads the way with 23. Tobias Harris added 20. Duncan Robinson added 19, including 5 triples, and Danish Jenkins was key as well. We'll talk about that coming up here on X's and Bros. In case you missed it, the other was OKC holding off the Lakers and holding them to just 41% shooting. 108-90 was the final in favor of OKC. Chet Holmgren led the Thunder with 24 points and 12 rebounds. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 19. That's the first time he has scored less than 20 points all season. In fact, the last time he scored under 20 was Game 3 of the 2025 Western Conference Finals against Minnesota. Here's another big story that took place last night, but just didn't get quite as much attention. You can understand why. When you got a playoff game and you got a team doing so well, like the Pistons, learning from the first series against Orlando, where you didn't really recognize them at times, but you sure recognized them last night. That was the team you were used to seeing with the energy and the hustle and the team camaraderie and the balance that they had. They didn't rely on Cade Cunningham for everything. He didn't need 45 points for you to win the ball game. The other story, though, is what's happening with the Tigers and how you have to nip this as quickly as you possibly can, because it's not just the losing, it's the way you're losing, and then it's one player doing something that is just very un-Tiger-like. The Red Sox, who are 14-21 and coming into a game like this. Remember, they fired Alex Cora. They have had all kinds of upheaval. Trevor Story, other players have spoken out against the front office, that it's a little bit of a blank show in Boston. And yet, what do? They erupt for 3 in the first, 5 in the third, 2 in the fourth. They cruise to a 10-3 win. Framber Valdez was horrible. Inexcusable. He lasted 3 innings, gives up 9 hits, 10 runs, 7 of them earned, 3 homers. At one point, he surrendered 5 consecutive hits, the most in his career. He gives up back-to-back jacks in the fourth and was ejected and might be suspended because he hit Trevor Story right between the numbers following a 449-foot homer. So Detroit drops to 18 up, 19 down on the year. The series wrap-up is today. Jack Flaherty getting the call. I hate being treated like we're stupid. It's a frustration of mine. Yeah. When you come out and you try to tell us that he hit Trevor Story unintentionally, that he lost a fastball, that it got away from him, that he was trying something from years ago, is just treating us like we don't know what the hell's going on. We get the frustration. It happens in sports. To try and tell us that you didn't mean to hit a guy after giving up back-to-back homers, after surrendering 10 runs, after having all kinds of issues, when a franchise and a fan base is hoping that the guy that they signed in the offseason to a mega deal and was expected to be a 1B, Tarek Skubal the 1A, Framber Valdez the 1B. Look at reports before the season began. Who's got the best starting pitching staff? Well, you look at the Tigers, man. I mean, it is special. No one's got a better 1-2 punch. That was the debate. The whole argument before the season began is who's got a better 1-2 punch than the Tigers with Skubal and Valdez. And look at what Valdez has done. Look at how bad he has been so far. Doesn't mean that he can't turn it around. So I'm not getting hyperbolic here, okay? It doesn't mean that he can't fix things. It's a long way to go. He's got a lot more starts to get to. There's no question that this guy, and I said it too before the season began, I thought it was a great signing. Kudos to Scott Harris for what he's done. He's 2-2. He's got an ERA of 4.5. He's got a whip of 1.4, which is really scary. All right. I'm not going to judge Framber Valdez on 8 starts. But you can see why Houston at times got frustrated with him. Not because of the 10 runs, not because of the 9 hits, but because of what he did handling that situation. Remember a year ago when he gave up a home run. He was in Houston. He gave up a home run. He felt like the wrong pitch was called, and he intentionally crossed up his catcher. I don't know if people remember that, but
I think everybody remembers that.
Okay, that was a big story.
Yeah,
right?
people were talking about it. That was all over the internet.
Yeah, and it's just not what you do. I mean, who does that to a teammate?
No,
right? I mean,
that was crazy.
You can call him out to the mound. You can, be pissed off. You guys can go down in the tunnel and argue. They're men. I mean, these things happen. It's okay. Go down in the tunnel, argue a little bit. AJ Hinch did that a couple of years ago with Javier Baez. Down in the tunnel, had it out, pulled him. Okay? You don't cross him up. And when he handles his situation that way, it's not like his guy got plunked. There are certain rules, unwritten rules, in all sports. If a Tiger was hit by a pitch, then Framber Valdez felt it was intentional, wants to do the same thing to one of the Boston players. That is, acceptable, air quotes, when it comes to baseball. What he did last night is not. You're the one missing. You're the one giving up 449-foot homers. You're the one getting hit all over the ballpark, and you're frustrated, so you're going to take it out on one of their players? Now, Eric Hosmer, who was a guest on this show a couple of weeks ago, brought up some very interesting things that maybe is part of the reason that Valdez did what he did. We'll get into that on the opposite side here on X's and Bros. We're just getting rolling here on a Wednesday. Speaking of big-time names, John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer, joins us at 8:35 here on X's and Bros, brought to you in this first hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, Go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
If you're the largest selling comedy recording artist in history,
You might be a redneck.
Jeff Foxworthy, Friday, June 12th, inside the Soaring Eagle Entertainment Hall.
Our parents can't text and our children can't write.
Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office and online at etix.com. Laugh it up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Friday, June 12th with Jeff Foxworthy.
My father-in-law got his chest hair caught in his zipper.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
it's like I say, like the teams that go to Game 7 usually relax in this type of game. We said before the game, don't let that be our team, right? And so for us, just coming out with that type of energy, that type of fuel to keep us going, embrace the crowd, embrace this moment, and just find our rhythm.
It's Tobias Harris, who was instrumental in Detroit's win last night. He has been so good in the playoffs so far for Detroit. If you questioned him over his last 6 games, he has averaged 20 points. These are his last 6 games. I'm sorry, 20 points, 8 boards, 2 steals. All right, so 20, let's look at 20 and 8. 30 points and 9. 22 and 10, 23 and 8, 20 and 6, 23 and 7.
And
not a bad run, huh?
No, it just felt like every time that they needed him again last night when they needed a bucket, especially at the end, I forget who he crossed up, but crowd loved that at the end of the game. He's playing out of his mind right now, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
I don't think he's necessarily Detroit's number 2 scorer. I don't even know if they have one. They need a number 2 scorer on any given night.
That's
okay.
Yeah,
I don't think they have that regular guy who's going to do that on a regular basis. I mean, Jalen Duren, I think for the most part was that during the regular season, more so than anybody else. That's why he averaged 19 and a half and 10 and a half. So second leading scorer on the team, but he hasn't been that in the playoffs, as we know, although he was good last night.
He was
a double-double
much better, man. Those 3 possessions in a row when it was tied at 93, the 3, 1-5 where it went from Cade to Duren underneath that. Haven't seen that all playoffs. It feels like, at least where it was like that smooth. Like it just worked so good in those 3 plays for them to get the lead like that back.
Yeah, I would say I thought the block that he had
that was huge, man.
Was perhaps the biggest play of the second half. I don't know if it's the biggest play of the game, but it sure was when Cleveland's making that push. Cleveland tied it.
Absolutely.
All right. So Cleveland took the lead at one point after being up 7-6. So I don't offensively, he wasn't great by any stretch. You go 4 for 11. Anybody else goes 4 for 11, you and I are bitching about it. Okay.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's a win, so we overlook it. I mean, if you think about it, I was talking about, guys on Cleveland. I mean, Evan Mobley needed to be better than he was, and he was 6 for 11. Okay. Now that's over 50%, so that's pretty damn good. He wasn't really involved, is the point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jalen Duren may not have necessarily been involved, but his 7 offensive rebounds, Andy, might have been one of the bigger statistics in the entire game.
Well, it was. And the time he made those 3 buckets that I was talking about, you say he went 4 of 11. Those were 3 of them were at the end of the game when they needed it. And we've been
in a row.
Exactly. We've been waiting all series for him to catch passes like that and actually finish at the rim and stuff. And he did do that at the end of the game. And I think that matters.
Yeah. 100%. If you believe in the plus minus, he led everybody in plus minus. He's a plus 17. Okay. We look at points too frequently because we think that's the difference. But we're the same people who will say defense wins championships. And then when you go to a box score, all you do is you look at his points. 7 offensive rebounds was massive, considering Detroit as a team had 16 offensive rebounds. That's the kind of guy you want. The guy who's going to grab the offensive rebound, pogo stick back up, slam it down, whatever. That's not always who he is, but oftentimes he is labeled that. He needs to be better and more efficient offensively, but he made a difference in a different way last night, if that makes sense. So kudos to him and kudos to the Pistons. Cade Cunningham, the efficiency and the way he lets the game come to him, I think, is so impressive. And had 23 last night. So far in the playoffs, Andy, he's averaging 31 points, 5.5 boards, 7 assists, and he's shooting 45% from the floor. Oh, on top of that, he's knocking home 40% from deep.
So
and in addition to that, he's hitting 84% of his free throws. I don't know if you can ask for a whole lot more than that. He's the 3rd fastest player in NBA history to reach 250 points and 50 assists in a playoff run. 3rd fastest.
Started the game great last night, too, when they needed it. It was a big part of the reason they got out to that lead that they got out to in the first place.
Yep. And can we just give a little more credit to JB Bickerstaff because he deserves it. While yours truly, Andy, not so much, but other people were freaking out is a bad word, bad phrase. Overreacting. Don't play Danish Jenkins anymore. What did Danish Jenkins do last night? 12.7 boards, 3 assists, 4 steals. Solid 28 minutes off the bench. Get him out, put in Marcus Sasser. Didn't happen. While people were frustrated and pissed, why did you not play Ron Holland in the first series? I think he only played 1 game. Paul Reed played only 2. He played last night because there was a different time when they needed him. He played 10 minutes, and he was impactful. Okay? Defensively, primarily. He was a +8 off the bench. While Karis LeVert didn't play in Game 7 against Orlando, and people thought that was it, he played last night and was a +13 off the bench. Okay? He didn't score. That's okay. They didn't necessarily need him to score, but he was good defensively. Paul Reed didn't play, might scratch some people's heads a little bit. He primarily went with 3 guys off the bench. Primarily. I mean, Karis LeVert, the 9 minutes, okay. Javonte Green, the 3 minutes. It was Isaiah Stewart, Ron Holland, and Danish Jenkins. I said before the entire playoffs began, this is where you cut your bench down. You're not playing 11 guys on a regular basis. And, of course, last night he played 10. But, again, only 8 of them had really vital minutes. A lot of minutes, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like that was the most he got out of his rotation though last night. I think out of any of the games so far in the playoffs, like it felt like everybody played.
That's a good
role
statement. I don't disagree with that. I mean, Paul Reed in Game 6, maybe a little bit, but yeah, I hear where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with that. I think as much as we love seeing Cade Cunningham dominate, I think last night was such a more complete game for this team, which should make everybody happy. Now, if you're Cleveland, what could give you hope is this, the fact that the Pistons, 31 points off the turnovers. You limit the turnovers, you probably win the game. Here's the hard part for the Cavs. It's not who they are. They do turn it over.
And the Pistons did more of what they do. I mean, it feels like they looked comfortable last night from the start. It got a little hairy there when they came back and tied. I mean, that run they got to tie it was really quick, and it forced the timeout. And that happened a couple of times throughout the second half, but I feel like overall, for the most part, the Pistons were able to play the kind of defense they wanted to play throughout the game, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I do think there were a lot of Christmas gifts for them. James Harden forgot how to dribble.
Yeah,
I mean, at some point, you would think, I mean, you were there, you're watching this game, you're going, this guy's an NBA player, and he's dribbling like this. I mean, he's literally just like kicking it around.
Yeah, no, from our vantage point up top, like watching him try to take it to the hole and do stuff, like there was a couple times where it didn't even look like his goal was to shoot the ball. Like he got lost, and then he just tried to like throw his body into somebody and get a foul out of it or whatever. He didn't look like the player that I saw. I watched him play in person, I think like 2-3 years ago. He looked completely different than the last time I saw him play.
He might be the most ill-advised shot taker. He makes some of those. Ill-advised shot taker I've seen in recent memory. I don't want to get too hyperbolic here. But here's who Cleveland is, though, Andy. In the first 8 playoff games, they have turned it over 141 times.
That's not a recipe for success against a team like Detroit, especially.
There are only 3 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs who have done that more. The 1985 Milwaukee Bucks turned it over 159 times in their first 8 playoff games. The 1975 Houston Rockets turned it over 146 times in their first 8 playoff games. And the 1996 New York Knicks turned it over 142 times in their first 8 playoff games. Those are the only 3 teams that have turned it over more than this Cleveland team. And James Harden, by the way, has 43 turnovers in 8 games. 43! Thank you very much. When we come back, we will talk a little bit more about the Pistons. John Smoltz joins us 8:35. We'll also talk about the Tigers and their situation. What an ugly scene it was last night. This is X's and Bros on a Wednesday morning, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Well.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. 4 Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office and etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, that's been all right. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, that's been our identity all year, is just getting energy and those sort of plays from basically 1 through 11, 12, however many we play. And I thought some guys came in and just gave us a huge lift. I thought Ron was awesome. I mean, doing what he did, even just in a short amount of time, come in and do that after, maybe things aren't going his way in that first series, for a young player to come in and do that. I have the most respect for that, because he just kept his head, was in the gym every day working, and prepared himself for an opportunity like this to come in and give us a spark.
So Duncan Robinson, who pumped in 19, talking about Ron Holland. Look, I think one of the harder things to do in sports is to handle the mental side of things. Baseball player going 1 for his last 23. A goalie not being able to find that rhythm. Quarterback not finding his rhythm either. Basketball players not getting the minutes. You've been a contributor to this team all season long. I'm not saying he's the only reason that Detroit won 60 games, because the beauty of what this team did all season long really is everybody contributed. You found guys who played a certain role and played it very well. Ron Holland played 78 games for this team, and he averaged 20 minutes a game. There's 82 games. He's playing in the majority of the 60 wins. Okay, I didn't look up his game log average, but he was important in how he was not important in the playoff series against Orlando. That's obvious. It led to a lot of questioning. What's wrong with him? Has he fallen out of disfavor? All these other things. All right. Played in 3 games, averaged 6 minutes against Orlando. Nothing there. All right. No impact whatsoever. Hard to fight through that. What was I doing in the 20 minutes and 78 games during the regular season that I didn't do in the 3 spot times 6 minutes a game against Orlando? And a lot of those minutes coming in game 7, right? Or at the end of games, I should say, when it was decided. So not the impact you want. How do you keep your mindset of being a guy who knows you can help, knows you're good enough, just needing that chance again? Uh-oh, did I blow my chance? Oh, no, have I screwed it for future seasons? I don't want to just wear my warm-up uniform and cheer on my teammates. I want to be on the floor making an impact like I know I can. And he did that. So and J.B. Bickerstaff said this afterwards. He's like, listen, I told him he's got to be ready. That's a hard thing to do. I know it was only 10 minutes, but it's a hard thing to do, to stay ready when you haven't been needed so far. What do you think is the hardest position in sports? I truly mean this when I say this. I think I'm not saying it's the hardest, one of the hardest positions in sports is the backup quarterback. And the reason I say that is because you have to study so hard all week everything that the starter's doing with less reps. You have to study all week everything that the starter's doing, knowing you're unlikely to play. You have to be ready to play, but you're unlikely to play because of how competitive the National Football League is. We're not looking at an OKC Lakers game last night. We're not looking at what the Knicks did to the Sixers last night or what they did to Atlanta in Game 6 and in Game 5 and Game 6. We're talking about a game in the National Football League where usually those games are tight. 1-score games. You can look at it. How many times a week do you look at the box scores or the final scores from all these NFL games and you recognize it's a 1-score game? So you're probably not getting in. That's a hard thing to do. What Ron Holland has had to do is stay ready just in case. It's not too dissimilar, I think, from the backup quarterback position.
No, that's where JB does deserve a lot of credit because he's a younger player, and to keep him like in the mindset. I mean, when he was asked about it last night, he didn't say like too much on it. Kind of like what you just said. He just said, that like you told him to be ready and all that. But that's kind of, it feels like to me, it's what he's done with this whole team. Like there's
And
still,
you can lose a player that way.
exactly. Yeah.
You lose
exactly.
a player by benching them. One of the most important characteristics, I think, of anything in life, quite honestly, but especially for coaches, you have to be a really good communicator. If you don't communicate well with your players, you're screwed. There's no doubt in my mind that through the first series against Orlando, JB Bickerstaff was talking to Ron Holland. Listen, you may not be needed in this game. You may not be needed in this situation. Hell, you may not be needed in this series. But there's going to come a time where we will need you. You are still an important piece. Trying to sell that and convince that player is hard. Think about a coach. I liken so much of coaching to being a dad or a parent. You've got 14 kids, and you're trying to make sure all of them understand their role, accept their role, embrace their role, and then excel in their role. You're trying to talk to Cade Cunningham about so many different things. Life, because they have that relationship. Basketball, scouting reports, what to do in certain situations, all these things. You're doing that with Tobias Harris. Proud of you. Thanks for doing all the things that you're doing. I know people love that nickname, Unk. Okay, great. Here's the bottom line. You are an important piece to this. We need your scoring. We need your post-up moves. You're trying to keep that confidence for Jalen Duren. You're trying to convince Duncan Robinson to keep shooting. You're telling Asar Thompson that the plus-minus is a real thing. All these different angles that you have with different players. Danis Jenkins, keep shooting, even though for some reason or another the ball stops when the ball gets in your hand. And then you've got a guy like Ron Holland or a Paul Reed. And you're trying to nurture them along to the point where even though you may not play tonight, you will be a factor for us down the road. I'm going to show you. It'll rear its head. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, not in this league. It's not a given at all to get your players to buy in like that, especially when they're not getting minutes. And yeah, Ron's a young player. So that's something that could easily get in his head to the point where he feels like, he's just, being pushed to the side. And that's not how they feel at all right now. It doesn't feel, even, Paul Reed didn't play any minutes last night. And this is like kind of a dumb thing that probably don't take too much stock in. But when Danis Jenkins was out there on the podium, a lot of people had left to go to the locker room, but he came out. Paul Reed was walking by. He comes in and starts asking him questions last night. Like he didn't play and he's still in the mood to do something like that. It's a dumb thing, but it feels like maybe it's still like one of those things that you can pay attention to be like, this is just the vibe of this room right now. Like, they just want to win.
Don't say that. It's not a dumb thing. I mean, that's a culture thing. What you witnessed was a culture thing. That's important. By the way, I didn't get to the Mitch Lineswell poll question. We'll do that here. Just wanted to tell you, Colorado had another impressive offensive output. They beat Minnesota 5-2. Nathan McKinnon had a goal and 2 assists. Avs have now won a franchise-tying high 6 straight playoff games, lead the series 2 games to 0.
That team can score goals, man. They can score some goals.
I mean, they're so fast. They're so much fun to watch. They really are. I know a lot of people in this area weren't watching it, but they're a lot of fun to watch. Here's the Mitch Lineswell poll question. And Andy's already tweeted it. I've retweeted it. How long does the Pistons series last? Is it a sweep? Is it 5 games, 6 games, or 7? I mean, the assumption here is that the Pistons win because they won last night. So you can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We'll give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. Let me get to a text. Our friend Freddie is always on point and always willing to share, and I greatly appreciate that. Means a lot as we get rolling. Usually has a lot of really good ideas. Let's see here. He said, Shep Framber Valdez needs to go. How he dogs other players and teams and not his own is not good. Going to be a long year for Boy Wonder, and that's regarding Scott Harris. I don't know if that's – I don't want to put that out there too quickly because there are certain things that are taking place that hopefully brings the Tigers back to a semblance of stability. Justin Verlander is going to throw another bullpen session today. Hopefully we'll face hitters in a simulated game this weekend. Likely need another step beyond that. This is according to Jason Beck, MLB.com. Either a rehab start or a simulated game before he's cleared to return from the injury list and join the rotation. So at least another week, okay, for Verlander. Skubal goes under the knife today. Not sure about Mize. I'm not telling the Tigers anything that they don't already know. This is why you need so many starters ready. This is why you can't have enough pitching. Well, many of us were bitching left and right about, oh my God, why you keep drafting pitchers. This is part of it. This is also part of why when you get position players, you reward them. So you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff unless they're injury prone, I guess. I don't know if I've seen the amount of injuries. Obviously, the staff is one thing. You've got, Skubal, and you've got Mize, and you've got Verlander, and of course, we already knew it was Olsen and Melton. I don't even know if you can even count them because you weren't counting on them during the regular season. You got Flaherty now, who's got an elevated ERA, and he's starting the series wrap up. There's a lot of bad things happening. Will Vest, of course, out of the bullpen, but then you've got other players injured. Javier Baez and Gleyber Torres is day to day, and Kenley Jansen can be, a little spotty here, and Parker Meadows is injured. I mean, the injuries for this team are going to take its toll if it hasn't already. Now, I guess if you wanted to look at the positive side of things, they're 18 up, 19 down. They're tied for first place because Cleveland's lost 3 in a row. So, I mean, there's something positive there, I suppose. Shep, maybe now we know why no team signed Valdez until February. Maybe we should have read that. Instead of getting caught up in the player and the resume and the reputation, maybe we should have gotten a little bit more understanding of just what has happened and why teams were turned off by him.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, like last year, obviously people are paying attention to that stuff like you mentioned with the video earlier of him throwing the pitch when he wasn't supposed to and stuff. I think I just trusted AJ's judgment, I guess, a little more like on him. I thought maybe just because he's played for him before that I thought, AJ seems to have pretty good judgment on what makes a good player and stuff. And maybe he thought that he'd get the best out of him. And I'm not saying that there's anything written in stone yet, but obviously last night's not a good step in that direction.
You're right. I mean, look, at some point, Andy, you got to trust somebody. You hope you got to trust somebody who runs your organization, whether it be Scott Harris, AJ Hinch, or whatever. I mean, if you're Chris Ilitch, are you not wondering just a little bit? I'm giving this much money, a 3-year contract, to Framber Valdez for $115 million. Okay? We're talking about close to $40 million a year. I'm giving him the highest paid contract AAV per year for a lefty. And 8 starts, 2-2, 4.5 ERA, 1.4 whip. And that's what he did. When at the time you need him most, at the time you need players to be the most unselfish version of themselves, you are down your ace. You are down, if you want to put numbers to it, your number 3 and your number 5 pitcher. You're without 2 of your prized rookie or young pitchers. They're not rookies, Jober or Olsen. You've got a team that is reeling from this. They need innings as much as anything else. They need innings, knowing how many innings are lost right now. And you get a guy who goes out there and implodes. And as bad as it was for him, and that's on him. You can say what you want about baseball being a team sport. It is a man-to-man, one-on-one matchup. Pitcher versus hitter. Okay? Pitcher needs help behind him. Hitter gets on base, needs help moving him in or moving him around for sure. But it's a one-on-one. It's a man versus man sport when it comes to that stuff. At a time when you need him most, what does he do? He implodes, he wilts, and he gets selfish. I'm pissed. I'm going to hit this guy. I'm going to tell everybody through an interpreter that I didn't mean to do it. There's not a person in that ballpark who believes outside of himself that he didn't mean to do that. Come on.
Yeah, no.
If you watched baseball for a year, you would understand that was intentional.
There's no way that people didn't believe that. I agree with everything you're saying 100%. Like, that's when they need him the most. I wasn't able to watch the game last night, but I did hear about Zach McKinstry making a pretty bad play in the first inning. I think that didn't really help his cause, right? With some of the runs.
Yeah, he was, which is another strange move, by the way. They make it a point to sign Zach Short for
what's up
2
with
games.
that?
Zach Short comes in. He takes the place of Kevin McGonigal, who had a quote-unquote scheduled day off. God forbid you put a 21-year-old out there every single day. God forbid you put the best player on your team out there every single day. One of the best hitters in baseball out there every day. Don't do that. Give him a scheduled day off. When we bitch about the NBA and the load management, baseball does the same thing. 21 years old and he needs a day off. Dude's in a groove and he needs a day off. Are you nuts? They give him a day off. It's a scheduled day off. They sign Zach Short. And then what do? They cut him again because Zach McKinstry is ready to come off. So the layman's term, not that we know more baseball than these guys, but the layman's term would say to you what? You couldn't tell Kevin McGonigal gut through 2 more days until Zach McKinstry comes back, so we didn't have to make that move of bringing Zach Short in, DFAing somebody else only to DFA him? You couldn't do that?
No, they need to bring Zach Short in to they
please.
need to bring him in to make an error and pop up a bunt. So
it's ridiculous. It really is. I'm going to show you how smart I am. I'm going to do this and things are going to work out, and then it doesn't work out. It's just painful. So it's an error, but it's more than that on McKinstry. It's misplaying. I don't want to say routine plays. It's misplaying the ball. Okay. Number one. Left the bases loaded. Okay. And at a time where you're still in it. That's a time where Detroit was still in the game and you're leaving opportunities out there. So anyway, very frustrating. Valdez, he's going to get suspended, Andy. You know that, right? He got ejected from the game for throwing a Trevor Story. Everybody saw it. He's trying to tell you he didn't mean it. He's trying to tell you, you know what? The ball got away from me, which is bullcrap. You're treating us like we're stupid, okay? And then said afterwards, I don't expect to get suspended. Chad Tracy, the interim manager for the Red Sox, said, I thought it was weak. I thought everybody saw it. Their side, our side, I think everybody saw it. It was weak. Listen, if you don't think he should get suspended, if you don't think it was intentional, all you have to do is listen to A.J. Hinch's comments after the game. When your own manager says, we play a really good brand of baseball here, that doesn't feel like it. That's not judging intent. I have no idea. But when you go out on the field and end up in those confrontations, you usually feel like you're in the right. I didn't feel good being out there. I understand what the Red Sox frustration is and the optics. I understand the whole thing. That's not going to bat for your player, and I don't blame him. He's a big boy. He should be able to take it. He's the one who put himself in that situation. We're back after this.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here with a message for all the golfers all across Michigan. Have you played at Crystal Mountain? Now, the resort is located in Thompsonville, Michigan, 2.5 hours northwest of Grand Rapids. They feature Mountain Ridge and Betsy Valley, 2 renowned 18-hole championship layouts, incredible accommodations, food, beverages, and more. It's time for you to book a stay-and-play package at Crystal Mountain today. Go to crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. Four Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
I thought he was awesome. You know, people obviously want to get caught up in that last line of a box score with him of points. He does so much for us, and he's really the anchor of our identity, our bigs, Stu, P. Reed, himself, just that physicality they play with. And, we need him to be himself and the most energetic, the most imposing version of himself. And I thought he did that for big time stretches tonight.
That was Duncan Robinson on Jalen Duren and how he's helped them last night, and probably doing a lot of things that we're not privy to, right? If you're watching the game, you're watching the basketball, you're watching where it's moving. You're not watching a guy doing things without the basketball. Tobias Harris said he's probably, or maybe it was Duncan Robinson, one of the two said he's probably the biggest identity to what we are, is Jalen Duren. You and I can debate that. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. That might be a little hyperbolic, where they're talking about a guy who just comes off a double-double and seems in the last two games to have refound, if there's such a word, his passion and energy.
Yeah, that's kind of what Duncan was saying there, though. He's saying like they need him to play with that kind of energy. I mean, he basically said because it helps them all out. It feels like.
Yeah, he was. You and I both have talked about this. He was literally lost in the first 5 games or so, from what we could tell against Orlando. Just did not look like himself. He finally does look like himself. Now he's not putting up the offensive numbers that we were used to seeing, but he has done a nice job of reconnecting with his inner self.
It mattered last night. I mean, they took him out of the game. I think they were up by, I want to say like 8 or 9 points. And when they took him and Tobias out of the game in the fourth quarter with like 8 minutes to go, that's when they kind of let the lead go away. And he came back in and I
don't think Cade Cunningham was out there either. So they took Cade Cunningham out too. They put those guys back in there. Cleveland had tied the game. Detroit gains possession because I think it was a couple of 3 free throws from James Harden, tied the game, reinsert those impactful Pistons players. Cade Cunningham comes down, 3 straight dunks by Duren, 3 straight assists by Cade Cunningham, and the Pistons never looked back there. So that was it. And it's interesting because, and Freddie texted us this. I said yesterday, and I brought this up on more than one occasion when it comes to the Tigers, with Alex Alavila making some really good picks for a lot of guys that are part of this team right now. Scott Harris getting credit for the last 2 playoff series and rightfully, or last 2 playoff runs, and rightfully so. He's the general manager, but a lot of those guys were Alavila's guys. A lot of these Pistons are Troy Weaver's guys. Remember, Detroit drafts, I know Cade Cunningham was the consensus number 1, but there were some people who thought Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs, somebody along those lines was worthy of the number 1 overall pick. Was it consensus? Probably closer to a consensus than not, but I don't know if everybody necessarily believed that's the guy you have to take, and Cade Cunningham has turned into be a superstar. Jaden Ivey in 2022 was drafted 5th overall. Detroit traded back into that first round to get Jalen Duren. Now they had to take on Kemba Walker's contract. They had to give up a future first-round pick. And they moved ahead of the Charlotte Hornets, drafted Duren over Mark Williams, who was a big guy from Duke. And look at what Duren has done. And what has, Mark Williams done? You tell me. Go ahead. I'll wait. Because he sure has not been that type of impactful player. He's been okay. He's averaging 12 points per game. He's averaging about 23 and a half minutes per game. That's fine for Charlotte. But he hasn't been the impactful player. Sure hasn't been an all-star. Hasn't been the impactful player that Jalen Duren has become. There are certain things that Troy Weaver, as much as people wanted him out of here, has done to help this team now. Now, Trajan Langdon with reacquiring Tobias Harris, bringing in Duncan Robinson this year. It was Weaver who drafted Isaiah Stewart. It was Weaver who drafted Asar Thompson I believe. Correct? Yeah, I think so. So, or was Jaden Ivey his last draft pick? I'm trying to remember. No, Asar Thompson, I believe, was his last draft pick. Because I think the first draft pick by Trajan Langdon was Ron Holland II out of the G League, Ignite, right? And then Chaz Lanier. So those are the guys. Those are pretty impactful guys that we're talking about. I'm not saying Troy Weaver shouldn't have been let go, but Asar Thompson's been a big, important piece. Jalen Duren's been a big, important piece in 2022. Cade Cunningham, obviously. I know people want to remember Killian Hayes, that draft pick, and that was horrific. In 2020, that was really tough to take because that's one that where you had a number of other players who would have been good. I remember I wanted Tyrese Halliburton because I watched him at Iowa State and I thought he was a really good player. But remember this, other guys, Devin Vassell was also there. He could have been a Piston. Obi Toppin, who played at Dayton, was there. But he also took Isaiah Stewart in that draft. So in fairness, now Tyrese Maxey went after Isaiah Stewart. So you could look at something like that and say, well, he missed not once but twice. Because would you like Tyrese Maxey? Absolutely. But my point is there are some really important pieces that he drafted and perhaps doesn't necessarily get as much credit for. JB Bickerstaff, he also brought in, Monty Williams, who was an absolute utter disaster. Getting him out of here is big, not just for Trajan Langdon, but for owner Tom Gores. Give Tom Gores a lot of credit here. JB Bickerstaff now on the impact that Jalen Duren made last night, but is also starting to find himself a little bit more as an impactful player for this team.
Again, his all-around game is effective for us. I thought down the stretch in particular, his will to want to go get the ball and the offensive rebounds that he had and how he imposed his will on the game to give us extra possessions. Defensively being in the right spot to limit some of the early penetration, showing his frame. I thought he did a great job for us all around.
Could have said it better. JB Bickerstaff has really, over the last few games, done a nice job of sticking with his guys. There's conviction, believing in your guys, and being stubborn. There's a fine line there. And he has been the former rather than the latter. Via text, Shep, sports is a funny thing. 1 week ago, they were down 3-1-0, talk of their coach getting an extension and appreciating Thompson as a star in this town. Watching the past week makes me wonder how Troy Weaver failed. Well, there you go. On cue, Troy Weaver. Yeah, it's probably more the coach.
Yeah, more the coach there, I think, for sure.
And I don't think that was Troy Weaver's choice, per se. Remember, when Monty Williams came here, Andy, most people applauded that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's based off where he came from. Yeah.
Right, from Phoenix. But when Phoenix fired him, he said he wanted to take time off. He did not want to get back into coaching. Those were for a short period of time. Those words should have been magnified more. A guy who doesn't want to coach and you're trying to pry him out of coaching, that is not a recipe for success more oftentimes than not. Now, it's worked before. Tigers did that with Jim Leland when he was in Colorado. Let's get him out of retirement. We think you still have it. Teams, it's happened in sports all over the place. Dick Vermeil wins the Super Bowl with the Rams, and he was retired. So there are examples for sure. But Monty Williams came to Detroit for one reason and one reason only: the massive amount of money that Tom Gores was going to give to him. Made him the highest paid coach in the NBA. Shep, is it he and Avila, his players, were still young, not enough experience, as many have now? Yeah, again, I think it was the coach more than it was the general manager. Joe Dumars brought him over to New Orleans. There's some questionable things that they're doing there too. We'll see what happens. You're not going to hit on every single draft pick, but he hit on a few really good ones that has helped this franchise right now. There's no question about that. You can't take that away from. You can take a lot of things away from certain players, certain general managers, certain coaches, certain managers. But when you draft those types of impact players, it's hard to do, and it's not fair either. Quick timeout. Don't forget John Smoltz, 8:35. He joins us here on X's and Bros. We are brought to you this hour by our friends at Meijer.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Who we are defensively, right? That's what our physicality does. All of it, understanding what the moment needs and what's called for. who we are defensively, right? That's what our physicality does, to people. It puts them in tight spots, and then they got to make great plays in tight spots. The aim is to wear you down as much as we possibly can. We want to be as physical with you as we can. We want to put our body on you as much as we can, pick you up full court as much as we can, and then make this, it's about a series, right? It's not just one game, and there's quick turnarounds, right? So now, can we force your legs to be a little bit heavy because we're putting that weight on you, we're putting that pressure on you, and see if we can wear you down over a series.
JB Bickerstaff and his team's swarming defense that was the difference last night, forcing 20 turnovers, turning those turnovers into 31 points. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 throughout the great state of Michigan, and streaming live also on YouTube, X, and on Facebook. Look, when a team plays the way it did last night, isn't there a part of you that thinks, well, first of all, you're wondering where it was against Orlando.
I was just going to say, I said to my coworker last night, I said, where was this the first 6 games against Orlando? Like, where was the way they've come out and played in these games? Like, it's insane.
Obviously it's a different team. It's about matchups. It's about a certain brand of basketball.
Sure, but it just feels like the energy is different. Like, it feels like they're back to how they looked during the regular season in a way.
100%. And I know, look, when I've said that, some people are like, oh, come on, give me energy. Everybody should be energized. The way another team plays sometimes affects your energy. Okay. So via text, Shep, just asking, if the Pistons play like they did last night, everyone involved, can't they beat OKC in 6 or 7? Or does OKC have to do everything wrong, Pistons everything right like last night? Well, I wouldn't put it past them, but OKC's defense is very similar to. Look, do you think Detroit struggled against Orlando for various reasons? One of the reasons is because of Orlando's defense. They're one of the better defenses, right? Toronto is one of the better defenses in the league, but Orlando's a physical team. Took away the inside. We all know what happened in that series, and for Detroit to prevail was pretty impressive. OKC's got the number 1 defensive efficiency rated defense in all of basketball. Detroit's number 2. So those matchups are going to be a lot harder. Detroit did get to the line, 35 times last night, I think, Andy? Something like that.
Yeah, I can look it up pretty quick, but it was definitely something around there. They were shooting a lot of free throws.
Yeah, they were shooting a lot of free throws, and OKC's a team that gets to the line an awful lot too.
Yeah,
Detroit did have 35.
Everybody always talks about that as SGA. He's so good at getting there. But
yeah, and the gratuitous whistle that
right.
He only went there 3 times last night. OKC only went there 12 times overall. And they blew out the Lakers. Okay, they beat them by 18. It was easy for them. LA was not good, but a lot of that has to do with OKC. The bottom line is, I don't know. I would not pick Detroit over OKC in the finals, but it sure wouldn't surprise me either if they did. I think it would be a really tough series for the Thunder. When I hear somebody suggest that, and I like the suggestion, and I love that you're thinking outside the box here. Not that you're putting it too far ahead, because you also understand they would have to get by a New York Knicks team, in all likelihood, who just made NBA history by winning 3 straight playoff games by 25 points or more. They've looked really impressive. Who's to say Detroit can't do that? Because so far, New York has not faced in Atlanta, and in this series against Philadelphia, they won't face the defense that Detroit plays. The difference between Detroit and everybody else teams are playing, they're not going to face a defensive team like this. Cleveland didn't face it in the first round. New York or even Philadelphia will not have faced one in either of their first 2 rounds, because nobody in the East plays defense like Detroit. Now, I know you could make the argument that, well, Toronto perhaps, because Toronto is pretty good defensively. The way Detroit switches, the number of different players who can guard different types of offensive players, really impressive. Cade Cunningham can play guard James Harden, guard Donovan Mitchell. Asar Thompson can guard any one of those 2 players. When Strauss comes in, he can guard him too. It's a luxury. Excuse me. It's a luxury for JB Bickerstaff to have. And they work at it. I mean, they battle. They are moving constantly. Got to be exhausted by the time everything is done. But if you watch that game away from the ball, watch how guys are moving constantly. It's quite honestly, it's beautiful to watch. So who's to say they couldn't do it against OKC? OKC in who they're playing, maybe San Antonio if they get there. Minnesota might be an underrated defensive team. I guess it depends on what is exactly you're looking at that you feel is most important from a defensive standpoint. Is it points per game? Is it field goal percentage? Is it turnovers forced? If you look at field goal percentage against, which I think is an important statistic, OKC's number 1, Boston number 2, Detroit number 3, San Antonio 4. All right. If you look at turnovers forced, Detroit is 1, Detroit is 1, Oklahoma City is 2. So that's an important statistic. If you look at points per game against, if that's an important thing for you, how many points are you giving up? Boston's 1, OKC's 2, Detroit is 3, New York is 5 during the regular season. And I know things change during the playoffs. I'm just giving you, a little bit of an idea of where things are. The Pistons will be the best defensive team every team plays in this playoffs. But Oklahoma City will be the best defensive team that Detroit plays too, if they got there. So it's a really good question, and we'll see what happens with all that. Maybe we'll see that when all is said and done. Let's hope that's what we see when all is said and done. And that would take us well into June, which would be fun. A lot of fun to talk postseason basketball all the way into June, considering, the way your Tigers team, the way your baseball team is playing.
Since I've gotten into this business, I definitely haven't covered basketball this late into the season. It's usually just been March Madness and it's done. So this is like the first experience with that for me.
and look, we need something like this. I don't know how much these injuries are going to affect the Tigers. You just never know. Okay. What we do know is if we're going to look at the Pistons in the first round against Orlando and say that's not the team I recognize from the regular season, there have been some episodes recently with the Tigers where we don't recognize them either, including last night. I read the quote from A.J. Hinch, Framber Valdez. Here's a thing that you should also look at. He gets ejected after hitting Trevor Story in the back between the numbers 1 and 0 in the 4th inning. He gets ejected. If you didn't mean to hit him, why wouldn't you protest the ejection?
It's a good question. You did.
I'm just wondering. I mean, if you're upset that you were wrongfully accused, aren't you putting up some type of protest?
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was much there. Kind of just let it happen, and then everything kind of just happened around him, it felt like. But
right. He threw 60 pitches. He threw 3 full innings because he didn't get an out on the 4th. He gave up 3 homers. He gave up 9 hits. And at one point, gave up 5 consecutive hits. You think he wanted to be in that game? 10 runs overall, 7 earned runs. You think he wanted to be in that game overall?
I'm going to take guess no.
I'm going to guess no, too, which tells you about the player. I mean, he only got 6 whiffs, Andy, okay, on 34 swings. He had a whiff rate of 17%. Okay. The average velocity, exit velo, of balls in play last night were 93 miles an hour off him. So he is, I mean, Buster Olney, I think, put this out on Twitter last night. He said, look, the guess is he gets 7 games. At a time when the Tigers are missing Skubal and Verlander and Mize and Melton and Job and Vest, this is what you do. Incredible. We're brought to you by Meyer here on X's and Bros on a Wednesday morning.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Andy, question for you. What's a bigger story? The Pistons winning game 1 or Framber Valdez melting down, possibly being suspended for 7 games. That was speculation by Buster Olney, which would mean in 7 games, if you think about it, it's so stupid in baseball. If you want to punish a pitcher who get a lot of suspensions because they hit batters, if you want to punish a pitcher, you don't make it 7 games, you make it 7 starts. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
really, it's only going to be 2 starts.
Huge. If it was 7 starts, we'd be. That'd be easily the biggest deal right now.
Yeah, it might be only 1 start. It might be only 1 start. If you think about it, if he's suspended 7 games, oh my God, what's he going to do? He's going to be in the bullpen where he usually is anyway for 6 of those games.
That's the truth.
The other game he starts, he misses 1 start. Now you could argue this team really can't afford that per se, but baseball's so stupid in this regard. If you want to suspend a pitcher, you want to cut down on that stuff, on that these actions. You want to really hurt them in the pocketbook. Here's what you do: suspend them for multiple starts instead of multiple games. Framber, you hit Trevor Story, you're out for 3 starts. Whoa! Don't look at the games because they're not pitching in those other games. A reliever might be a little different. Starters, no way.
Yeah, 3 games would be significant too. That would be make it a lot bigger of a deal.
No, 3 starts would be significant.
Sorry, yes, that's what I meant to say. That would definitely make it a bigger deal. If to answer your question, just about which one is bigger, I mean, it still feels like the Pistons just because it's a playoff game. But I feel like with the direction the Tigers are going right now, if that wasn't going on, that would be like the biggest deal because it feels like right now things just keep kind of piling up on them.
Yeah, let me just say this. I think you're right. But the reason the Tigers is a big story, and look, they could win today and be back to 500, and it's not a huge deal. They're fortunate they play in a bad division. But the reason it's Tigers is because if this is who he is, and maybe we should have had a glimpse of this more from what he did last year against the Yankees, and when Trent Grisham hit a grand slam home run, and suddenly Framber Valdez wants to cross up Cesar Salazar. And Salazar's like, what the hell are you doing? Throwing a 93-mile-an-hour fastball at me when I'm not ready for it. I mean, who does that to a teammate, right?
Crazy.
We got caught up in Valdez and all he's done and all these great things, and we needed a pitcher. It felt like it was the NFL draft and you drafted for need. We needed a pitcher desperately because we didn't believe in Jack Flaherty. You knew Melton was hurt, and you knew Job was hurt, and you knew Olsen was hurt. So we got to get something. What are you getting? Well, remember, they hadn't signed Verlander yet. Who do you pair with Skubal? It can't be just Skubal and Mize. This was the theme. So we get caught up in that because the guy has good stuff. All right, he does. And you were relieved. Let's be honest. You were relieved that Chris Ilitch actually spent money.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was.
Yeah, that's the thing people complained about on a regular basis. He doesn't spend. I bring up certain examples. Spending money and spending wisely are 2 different things. But I brought up Javier Baez. Spent money there. You spent money on Alex Cobb for $15 million. You spent money on Jack Flaherty for $25 million. There are certain players, he has spent money. Not as much as you want and on the right players, but he's spent some money. Not as much as you would like. Now he has spent money on Framber Valdez and Gleyber Torres, who he also spent money on the year before. He spent money on certain guys. And how's that working? $32 million for Tarek Skubal. What can you do about injuries? Nothing. Framber Valdez making close to $40 million, and he acts like that. Gleyber Torres, $22 million. How's that working out right now? Kenley Jansen spent a lot of money there. How's that working out right now? Not very well, right? It's where you spend the money more than anything else. But the reason I think it's a big deal for the Tigers is because if this is who he is, it upsets the proverbial apple cart. I don't think A.J. Hinch would allow it to do that, but it upsets the proverbial apple cart. Think about it for a minute. Houston is willing to let, arguably, maybe it's Hunter Brown, but arguably their best pitcher to leave. Doesn't that tell you something? I mean, when they let Alex Bregman walk, didn't that tell you something? An organization that is oftentimes in the mix for at least a division championship allows two big-name players from their recent championship past to leave.
Yeah.
How come we didn't recognize that?
It definitely
Is it
says
strictly-
something. I think
Yeah.
maybe they thought, again, I'm just going back to the thing about thinking that AJ, knew the player and maybe thought he could get something else out of it, I guess, than what he's gotten so far. But
yeah, I mean, you could say the same thing about Carlos Correa. Detroit wouldn't, there was only so much that they would spend for Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa, by the way, just to go on the IL for Minnesota. I mean, it's amazing, right? So what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that when they did sign him, I was definitely happy about it. Happy they spent the money on the pitching there, and I trusted their better judgment just based off where they've ended their last couple of seasons, being in the playoffs and everything else. But it still is one of those things where I had a couple of friends, I got to give them credit that they were kind of against it and they wanted the bat more, and I still feel like that's something that they need. And I tried to push back a little bit and say that I think going towards the deadline, because they're spending this money, I have faith that if they're in it and in first place, that maybe they'll go out and get a bat at the deadline this time.
Yeah, I think that was probably. And by the way, I misspoke. I said Carlos Correa from Minnesota. He's back in Houston.
Yeah.
I think that is a common thought. The thought was, okay, you get the pitcher. You're not denying that they needed the pitcher. You're just denying that was the money, as much money as you were going to spend for the pitcher.
Well, yeah. Then when they doubled down on Justin Verlander, bringing him in too, I think that's where my friends
$3 million.
Yeah, sure, not a lot, but I think my friends were still just like, "Where's the bat? Where's the bat?"
Exactly.
And I get that point of it 100%.
Yeah, so do I. I understand it completely too. Now, I didn't necessarily want Alex Bregman, even though I've always liked him as a player. I didn't want him. There's a point in time where at age and cost of bringing a player in, to me, doesn't work. Didn't necessarily want that. You got to pay for power, though. My question, if I were you, to them is always, who did you want?
Yep, that's it. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so tell me the guys you wanted, instead of just saying, where's the bat? Who's the guy you specifically wanted? Because I know people who wanted Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso has been a massive bust right now for Baltimore, unfortunately. You wanted Kyle Tucker. That's not the right-handed bat. And that's a lot of money, and you probably weren't going to get him. So from a right-handed standpoint, who did you want? The name I brought up was Bo Bichette. So you've got to have an answer for the question, I believe. This is just my philosophy.
No, I totally agree with that.
So I wanted Bo Bichette. Would I have been correct in Bo Bichette and giving him over $40 million? 42, I think. He signed for 3 years, $126 million with the Mets. Do you think that would have been well spent? Would you have rather spent that money, and that's a little bit more than what Framber Valdez did, would you have rather spent that money or the money on Framber Valdez? Because let's face it, you and I both know this. You're not going out and you're not getting JT Realmuto, all right, because you've got a young catcher. You had already signed Gleyber Torres. Well, the option, he chose it, the $22 million. Hassan Kim would have been a nice addition because middle of the infield type of guy, $20 million. Who is it they wanted? It wasn't Danny Jansen, okay, because he's a catcher. You're limited. It's easy for you and I to say, and your friends, I want the bat. Give me the bat, because they need right-handed power, and there's not many there. And immediately a lot of people go, Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman signed a contract for 5 years in Chicago, okay? At his age, at 30 years old, 5 years, $175 million. You're going to pay $35 million bucks? I mean, these are the things, these are the tough conversations a lot of times, right? Because we want something for need. We want something right away. And I'm sorry, Alex Bregman's 32. The Cubs signed Alex Bregman, $35 million a year. They're going to pay him that much money until he's 37 years old.
No, and also to the Tigers' credit too. I think the other thing we were getting, fed all offseason was Kevin McGonigal was, getting this guy, and he's not the right-handed power bat, but he's definitely been an important bat to their lineup, the most important bat. And I think they might have knew that he was going to make a big impact on helping their offense as well. So
yeah,
that's still there, and that's where you still have to, take into consideration with all the frustrations going on with the Tigers right now. Like they are extremely injured too. Like I mean, there's a lot of people out that were in their plan.
And that's what you get with a guy like Bregman. I mean, he has been, and this is what your friends would argue, or at least I hope they would argue, he has been a steady guy. So he's played a lot of games. His on-base percentage, career-wise, very good. Okay. It's not always about the power. Very good. But a guy who averages close to 30 homers a year in his career. I would remind you right now with Chicago, and this is easy to look back and say, I told you so. He's only got 3 bombs. It's a hitter's friendly ballpark for the most part. It's not Comerica Park. It's not Kauffman Stadium. So that's a little bit of an issue too, right? So if you looked at it from that standpoint, absolutely. My point is the reason this is a big story for the Tigers is because if he gets suspended, suddenly, what kind of teammate is he? What kind of player is he? When you're out there, you don't win as many games as he does. You're not as integral in the success of a past team with him if you're not good. But from a teammate standpoint, this is not who this team has been, where you're getting selfish like that. This is not, I hit the batter because my guy got injured. I hit the batter because the opposing pitcher hit one of our guys. I hit the batter because I'm sticking up for my guys. He's hitting the batter because he's frustrated at his own ineptitude on a specific night, in this case, a Tuesday night. That to me is a selfish ball player.
And AJ didn't disagree with that.
And AJ did not
He's going to
disagree
be
with that.
quick to act on that, I would imagine, just based off how he's man. I mean, that's not the kind of players that he's had in the Tigers clubhouse since he's been there.
He will. There's no question he will talk to him about that. No doubt in my mind. We'll get John Smoltz's thoughts on that at 8:35. He's going to join us. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of really important stuff that are going on and how he gives back to the community that he grew up in Lansing. And he's got a really cool ballpark there called Strikeout Baseball, where kids can go and play instead of, getting in trouble and instead of needing, 10 guys out there to play. When I was a kid, we would go out there and we could play 5-on-5 because you could just play the left side of the infield. The other team provides the catcher. You pitch. So there's one guy. You get 2 guys on the left side of the infield, a center fielder and a left fielder. Anything hit to right field is out. That's how you played 5-on-5. Or you could do it the other way. All right, next inning, it forces you to go the other way. Or it forces you to pull the ball. Right? So if we get center fielder and a right fielder, first baseman, second baseman, what do? If you hit it to the right side of you have to hit it to right field in order for it to be in play. So that was good stuff. Sometimes if you're playing on the other side, you would have just one infielder. He would have to play third and short and have a first baseman. But a lot of times what we would do is your pitcher throws it and then your pitcher goes and covers first. So you got a good workout in. But I mean, that's how you played 5-on-5. In strikeout baseball, you can literally play 1-on-1 if you saw some of the things that they have available for you. It's really cool. So we're going to talk to John Smoltz about that, and we'll talk to him about Framber Valdez as well, because I think this is a bigger story than what it will be made out to be right now. I think a lot of people will be talking about the Pistons, and I get it. Maybe they're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs getting the number 1 overall pick. I don't know. Third time they've ever had it. 1985, Wendell Clark. 2016, Austin Matthews. Maybe that's a big deal. Red Wings would pick 15th if they hadn't traded away for Justin Falk, which I have no problem with if they did that. But maybe the biggest story is the Pistons. But this Tiger story deserves some shedding of light.
It forced its way in last night, man. I mean, it was popping up on everybody's phone, I feel like, no matter what. So
good. And I don't know if you noticed, the 2 broadcasts were polarizingly different.
I was not able to watch, obviously, last night.
Okay.
So I haven't been able to hear it.
Go back. You'll be able to see it on social media. The Boston Red Sox, they right away, they knew it. I forget who their color analyst was. I don't know if it's Will Middlebrooks or what, but he said, are you kidding me? The only way you get him out is by hitting him. And then when the bench is empty, he was criticizing that Valdez was at the back of the whole pile. Let everybody fight for me. And then said, well, if he stays in the game, let's make sure that he doesn't throw at his catcher because he's upset. So a dig at what Valdez did last year against the Yankees and Cesar Salazar, his catcher then for Houston. The Tigers broadcast, of course, is saying, are you kidding me? You're going to kick him out with no warning? I mean, come on. You're a former ball player. You don't recognize that that's on purpose? How can you not think that that wasn't on purpose? Nobody believed that. Manager didn't, none of the players. Look at the players' body languages. They're just like, are we going to do this because this guy is an idiot and wants to get thrown out of the ball game because he can't get anybody out? It was pretty strange to hear that reaction. I didn't like it. I really didn't. Via text, I honestly think Dirk's melting down is a bigger story. I don't know about that. He defended the hometown guy. To a certain extent, I get it, but I don't know if he necessarily melted down. Shep, fans don't complain when Dad overspent on Upton, Miggy, and Zimmerman when that team finished. When that instead spoke of Ben traded off Abe ahead of the rebuild in 2015. I'm not sure what that last part means, but Upton, Miggy, and Zimmerman, again, a lot of it name recognition. Zimmerman, remember, Zimmerman was coming off a pretty damn good year in Washington. And he started pretty good for Detroit.
He started great. That first month was unreal.
Yeah, and then he just crapped the bed. So those things are bound to happen. I think players, players really get enamored with big name players. I don't care about the name. I care about the production. I care about the kind of teammate they are, but the kind of production. What are they going to add to my team more than anything else? And the Tigers, look, part of the reason, I keep going back to what Andy's buddies had said. They wanted the bat. I get it. Specifically, I wanted a right-handed bat. But then you get into blocking positions, which I can't stand. You can't pick up a third baseman because you could block him for Jace Young. Give me a break. Okay? If you're a good hitter, this has been universal ever since you were in T-ball. If you're a good hitter, they're going to find a place for you. That's just the way it is. If you're a good pitcher, they will find a place for you in the rotation. So that's the reason. Detroit lacks that right now. But this is an important part of their season. I'm not kidding you, man. This is a big deal and how they're going to be able to navigate through this really difficult water. Final hour coming up right around the corner. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Meyer. John Smoltz joins us 8:35 here on X's and Bros.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
all of it, understanding what the moment needs and what's called for, and then having the poise and confidence to go and execute it. And, playing in 3 basically elimination games, you understand that. You understand, how important starts are, the urgency. You understand, how to close and how to finish and how to get to your spots. And then you grow belief that you can. And I think that series did a lot of that for us.
JB Bickerstaff, who continues to impress, justifying that extension that Trajan Langdon recently provided with him and getting his team a 1-0 lead over Cleveland. It sure seemed like Jalen Duren was a difference maker in the middle this time. How many times you see Cleveland penetrate and kick it out? How much more aggressive were the Pistons last night than we were used to seeing them in the Orlando series? Not that they weren't aggressive. They were aggressive in the Orlando series, but they weren't overly aggressive consistently. Does that make sense? That's how you get to the free throw line 35 times compared to 16 for Cleveland. Now you got to make them. Cleveland missed just 1. Detroit was 27-35. I'd like to see them be a little bit better, but I'm starting to get nitpicky here. You miss 8 free throws. I think that can be a long-term issue if it continues at that rate. Okay. You would like to make sure that when you get to the line, you've worked hard to get to the line, that you're taking advantage of getting to the line. Okay. 111-101, the final score in favor of Detroit. Game 2 is tomorrow. We're going to talk with John Smoltz at the bottom of the hour, 8:35. He's got a really cool initiative out there. It's called Strikeout Baseball. It is it brings a strong training facility, coaches, develops skill set there in Lansing, where you don't have to have a full team out there to play. It's a really cool story. He developed this with a guy by the name of Jeff Lazarus, and Jeff is going to join us tomorrow to talk about it. They got a big event taking place on Saturday. And they had a grand opening, I think in 2025 is when it started. If you go on their website, strikeoutbaseballusa.org, it's very cool. Their mission is pretty simple: create an inclusive and impactful baseball program that promotes teamwork, personal development, and a love for the game. All right. And they're trying to take this around the state, which I think is fantastic. So John Smoltz is a big believer in something like this. Jeff Lazarus was the founder. Jeff will join us tomorrow. Today, it's John Smoltz, and John Smoltz will be in Lansing at the facility on Saturday. So looking forward to that. I will be part of that as well. It's very, very unique. So looking forward to that conversation. Let me shift gears here real quick, because these things get blown out of proportion, because football just wants to stay in everybody's mindset, and I understand why. Football wants to be top mind awareness. I understand why. They do a really good job of that. The Packers, in case you missed it, signed Tyrod Taylor. So they got a pretty deep quarterback room. It's pretty interesting. Would you consider him, Andy, one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league?
Probably, but they still have Malik Willis, right? No, they don't.
No.
Okay.
No,
so I would say
Malik Willis signed that contract in Miami.
That's right. Yeah, because he came in plenty of times last year and did good. So he definitely was one. But yeah, that's a good signing by the Packers for sure.
It is a good signing by the Packers. You've got, if you looked at the backup queues in the league, Kirk Cousins comes to mind right away. Malik Willis is now a starter, so you can't say him any longer. Mac Jones. Would you say that in San Francisco? I think so.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston. I think you feel good with. I look at backup quarterbacks like guys who I wouldn't have a problem with starting a couple of games.
Yeah, Jameis Winston came in and showed what he could do against the Lions last year, pushed him to the brink in that game.
Yeah,
that's
probably should have won that game. Marcus Mariota for Washington. I think he's a good backup. He doesn't get a lot of play, but Davis Mills came in and really helped Houston a year ago.
No doubt. Yeah, he's had some good games.
Jimmy Garoppolo has talked about retiring, but there's a reason the Rams drafted Ty Simpson. They're worried about that backup role. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a really good backup. I think Joe Flacco is a good backup. Not sure about Anthony Richardson with the Colts. Some people feel like he's He's a trade candidate. He's a cut candidate. I would take him if I were the Lions as my backup. I think he's better than Teddy Bridgewater. But look, I digress. They did Green Bay has added to their quarterback.
Well, didn't the Colts didn't they deny Richardson's 5th-year option?
Yeah, they did.
They did it. Yeah, so I thought. So.
Yeah. So with that said, after the draft, a lot of websites like to dive into how good they feel the team is from a year ago. How much did they improve? But power rankings, lack of a better phrase, it's such a crapshoot. You don't even know what the team is yet. There's going to be a surprise in a good way and a bad way in just about every football camp around the National Football League. But it's worth conversing. Look, I mean, Seattle wins the Super Bowl. You figure they go in there, they're probably number one. ESPN puts theirs out. And where do they have the Lions? They have the Lions at 11. The interesting thing is they moved them down from 7 to 11 after the draft. And they put most improved position offensive tackle. Detroit's offensive line wasn't up to par in 2025, finishing with the second worst pass block win rate in the NFL last year at 56%. The Lions' offensive line had the second worst pass block win rate in the National Football League. There's another reason they brought in Cade Mays and another reason they drafted Blake Miller, because of his ability to be athletic and block and protect Jared Goff. It continues. This offseason, Lions beefed up their offensive tackle alongside Penei Sewell. They drafted Blake Miller with the 17th pick after releasing left tackle Taylor Decker in March. Miller started right tackle for all 4 years in college. They also signed Larry Borum, who has experience at guard and both tackle spots. So they got him at 11. All right, that's fine. There's no reason to get super upset about something like this. It's just a conversational piece. Then you go to some of these other websites, and I specifically went to Sports Illustrated. SI.com has Detroit even lower. They don't carry over last year to this year. In other words, Seattle's not number one. They actually have the Rams at number one, Seattle at number 2, which is interesting because a lot of people felt like the Seahawks had a bad draft or a very average draft. So you're wondering, okay, if ESPN's got Detroit at 11, where does SI? SI's got Chicago at 11. They've got the Lions all the way down to number, believe it or not, 18. I mean, they're behind Carolina. They're behind Jacksonville. They're behind Washington. Here's what they write about the Lions. DC Kelvin Shepard. So it's interesting. They immediately go to the defensive side. Got his chance to put a stamp on the defense with critical picks in all but 2 rounds. Lions had 7 picks. They went into the draft with 9, but they made a couple of trades. So they had 7 picks, 5 went on the defensive side, 3 of those 5 on the defensive line. The Lions need quality depth, they continue in writing, after years of getting picked apart in free agency. If Blake Miller can hold down the right tackle position and at least 1 or 2 quality starters emerge from the back end of the draft, we can start buying in on the Lions' mystique again. What was their mystique before? Number 1. And number 2, were you done, quote unquote, buying in? I guess I don't look at it like that. I look at, first of all, I don't think they had a mystique. I think they had an identity. I think they had a way of playing the game. Are they back to that? Maybe that's what they're getting at. They just didn't say it in the proper form. I found that interesting, that already, and things will change after the preseason, you know that, but already people don't view them the way you and I view them. We view them as greatly improved and a threat and possibly the leader in the division. Whereas most other of these national websites look at them as a team that still has a lot of warts and are not as good as at least Chicago in the division. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Join us in the chat as we stream live on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook, like Well, a couple people have. Randy has, and we'll get to that on the other side. We're brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. And a reminder that John Smoltz joins us at 8:35 on X's and Bros.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. The Tigers have a top 5 offense so far, and there are a lot of reasons to believe it's only going to get better. The Tigers have the lowest chase rate in the American League, the second lowest swing and miss rate. They get to 1-0 counts more than any other team. They get the ball in the air with a solid hard hit rate, and then the only team right now that's above average against both types of fastballs. Kevin McGonigal has been incredibly consistent through 35 games. He and Gleyber Torres at the top of the order are getting on base a ton for the big bats in the middle, and there's plenty of thump with Dingler, Carpenter, Green, and Torkelson. Plate discipline, tough at-bats, getting starters out early, power threats up and down the lineup. These are all hallmarks of a good offensive team that still has plenty of upside.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org. Huge here for all the Buffalo Wild Wings in Michigan. Now the Carmody brothers wanted me to remind everybody that you can watch every Tigers game at your local Buffalo Wild Wings. From Tigers weekday afternoon games to night games to weekend games, get the friends, family together, those you work with, and hang out at your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Carmody brothers love the Tigers, and they love when people stop out to the Buffalo Wild Wings in Michigan all season long to watch Tigers baseball. What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Okay, back with you here on X's and Bros. John Smoltz will join us 8:35 here in a moment via the streaming device. We have streaming in 3 different categories: X and Facebook and YouTube as well. And we always appreciate the feedback. Andy sent us this. He said that Story was relaying signs from second base, and that's why he got plunked. You could see it in his glove. He could see in his glove. He's referring to Trevor Story was on second base during the game, and Eric Hosmer, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago, did a really good job of breaking it down on how players can relay things to hitters. You can step on one side of the bag or the other. You can make a step forward. You can touch your helmet on one side. You can lean one side or the other. They change it on a regular basis, and it's an interesting way of doing it. Look, and I agree with Andy on that. Here's the problem. The problem is that this happens all the time. This is not the first time it's happened to Framber Valdez, even this year. The reason he hit Trevor Story isn't because he was relaying signs. He hit Trevor Story because he was frustrated. He was frustrated at his inability to get outs.
No, but he shouldn't be suspended, though, right?
Right, but he shouldn't be suspended. I don't think I should be suspended. Why not? I didn't do it intentionally. It sure looked like it was intentional, but, well, it may look like it's intentional, but it wasn't. It sure as hell was. You put yourself in the other player's situation, and you would recognize that.
Yeah, how would you not get upset about it? I mean, that obviously Framber's probably pretty upset at that point about being in the game. Still, I feel like too a little bit because he's given up that many runs that it's just not working for him. But if you hit somebody immediately after that, how do you expect them to feel? Even if he somehow didn't mean to do it, how do you expect them to feel?
Do you think it was convenient? You think it was because he was relaying signs earlier in the game, or the fact that Valdez got hit all over the yard and had just given up back-to-back home runs?
I think the home runs are definitely going to weigh more in his mind at that point.
Yeah. So Contreras goes 449 feet. And then Abreu goes 396 feet. And then Story gets hit. Come on. We got to be smarter than this. Take away your affiliation with your team. Take away your affinity for your team. Take away your fandom for a moment. You are Boston. Okay. Better yet, you're the Tigers. And a Red Sox pitcher. Fill in the blank. I don't care. Garrett Crochet, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Hits Kevin McGonigal. Kevin McGonigal stands in after back-to-back homers from, let's see, what McGonigal batted second last night. Hao-Yu Lee was batting ninth, and Matt Vierling, who had homered, by the way. And you're kicking the crap out of him. Kevin McGonigal wears one right there on the number 7. Let's say it's not even McGonigal. Let's say it's Riley Green between the 3 and the 1. Torkelson between the 2 and the 0. I don't care. You know what you're saying? You're saying, you know what? Don't take it out on our guys. Here's what you need to do. Stop giving up homers that combined travel 800 feet.
No, you're definitely getting frustrated about it, but that's also where Framber's past comes in too. Because, I mean, that's not going to help his case in that situation. Everybody's going to, like you said, everybody in that ballpark last night, no one's believing that wasn't on purpose. And I think a lot of that's because of what happened last year, with what he did to his own teammate.
Yeah, look, I mean, your reputation, oftentimes, what's that cliche, Andy? Reputation precedes you. In life, overall, guaranteed that the reputation that people have about Framber Valdez today is based on the reputation that has preceded him. And one of the reputations that he has, besides being a very good pitcher, and he's a very good pitcher. He's a guy that most teams would want on the mound, maybe not for that price. Take that out of there, okay? But a guy who helped the team win a World Series in 2022, a 2-time All-Star, a guy who in his career steadily starting 31 games or so, okay? He started 31 last year, 28 the year before, 31, okay? a reliable guy, led the league in innings pitched in 2022. All right. Faced more batters than anybody else in baseball. His reputation is of a pretty steady player. Not a Cy Young Award winner. He's going to probably win you 15, 16 games, but also, which kills you because of the amount of money you're spending on him. But those can be very misleading. Wins can. But also the reputation that he created a year ago. And you do that to your own teammate. That's what Andy immediately thinks of. Maybe people in Houston were thinking of the World Series and thinking of the All-Star appearances and thinking of how good he was that year when they won the World Series and how he finished, in the Cy Young in the top 5 that year and has finished in the top 10 twice in his career. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But those who aren't around Framber Valdez for every single start, they remember last year in New York, Trent Grisham hits a grand slam, and then he crosses up his catcher.
It's
very next pitch, throws one 93 miles an hour.
It's completely fair to go that route with it. That's just why I think I just keep going back to the AJ thing, like knowing him before, hoping he can change him. I think this is going to be one of the bigger challenges AJ's had, since he's been there to figure this out, because he has to figure it out. He's on a 3-year deal. They made this decision to take him, and I think that was a part of the trust that, I don't know if I want to go as far as Illich, but definitely Scott Harris had in him when they signed that player.
You're 100% right there. I mean, they're not making that acquisition without AJ Hinch. You're 100% right. They're not making an offer to Carlos Correa without AJ Hinch. There's no doubt about that. You are dead on there. The thing that bothered, I think, a lot of people last year when he crossed up his catcher and he did it, he didn't even, you knew he did it on purpose, and here's how. He didn't even go like this, stick his hand out and say, my apologies. That's what a lot of pitchers do. My bad.
Yeah, Terry Skubal, anytime he hits somebody,
did?
it's like he feels terrible. He does that immediately. That kind of stuff, it seems like.
Sure. You know what Valdez did? He turned his back to his catcher. Hit him, turned his back to him. Character. It's not always going to win you games. I get that. But it's going to help you with your teammates win you games, right? Last night, he does that. Where is everybody going? They're here. Where was he? I learned this from Kirk Gibson, working with Kirk Gibson. A lot of times after a home run, Andy, you know what he does? He doesn't look at the guy running around the bases, doesn't look at when he's crossing the plate. He's looking at the first guy to congratulate him. That's the teammate. In a fight, who's the first guy out to protect him? And where is that guy who instigated the fracas? Framber Valdez was at the back of the line, while everybody else was up front for him.
Yeah, maybe they were defending him last night, but you got to wonder if they're going to see that and stuff. I don't know what's going on in there. I don't know how they feel about him as a player yet. I'm sure right now they haven't minded him as a teammate, but obviously these kind of things can't keep adding up, or you would imagine it wouldn't go the right direction. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a big story. I'm not trying to make too much of it here. And I'm not saying this team is now going to go in a spiral. All right. I think they've got good players. The injuries, obviously a concern. Last night needs to be nipped right away. And nobody knows that better than AJ Hinch. And he will do just that. We will ask John Smoltz about that. We're going to ask him about strikeout baseball. We're going to ask him about baseball in general, pitching arms, and the injuries that are taking place, and what Framber Valdez did last night. All that and more with John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer. He joins us on the other side on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. And it's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. The Tigers have a top 5 offense so far, and there are a lot of reasons to believe it's only going to get better. The Tigers have the lowest chase rate in the American League, the second lowest swing and miss rate. They get to 1-0 counts more than any other team. They get the ball in the air with a solid hard hit rate, and then the only team right now that's above average against both types of fastballs. Kevin McGonigal has been incredibly consistent through 35 games. He and Gleyber Torres at the top of the order are getting on base a ton for the big bats in the middle, and there's plenty of thump with Dingler, Carpenter, Green, and Torkelson. Plate discipline, tough at-bats, getting starters out early, power threats up and down the lineup. These are all hallmarks of a good offensive team that still has plenty of upside.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. 4 Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
fall, I had the good fortune of meeting some friends in Lansing. My daughter just graduated from Michigan State, so she was there, and I was there quite a bit. And I toured the Strikeout baseball facility. It's really cool. It really is. I mean, first of all, it's beautiful. It's beautifully done. And it really gives kids a chance to access a training facility, some coaches, develop a skill set for baseball. Instead of having to play back in the day 5-on-5 when I played, or trying to gather up 9 guys per side, this is an area where you could play 2-on-2. You can play 1-on-1 if you wanted to. John Smoltz is a big reason why it is there in Lansing. He and Jeff Lazarus came up with this idea, and they have put their names behind it, Strikeout Baseball, and they've got a big event coming up on Saturday. John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer, joins us here on X's and Bros on this Wednesday morning. John, good morning. We appreciate the time. Why do you think this is so important, having a facility like this for kids in that area?
Well, first of all, growing up there and being part of my career really getting started in Lansing, it's a natural fit in the sense that, baseball is a tough game to play. It's a tough game for families to navigate the new wage and the new rage of financial responsibility and the overkill of, space, getting places to play, getting on teams, travel ball. It's an expensive sport, and we have done a horrible job as an entity in burning these kids out and putting them in places where, they forget to have fun when they're young, to develop and play multiple sports. And we've gone off the rails. So this is a way, and this field represents a way of how we all grew up in my time, playing pickup baseball, playing strikeout baseball against a brick wall with your buddy. And this facility is not only fantastic, but it reintegrates, the opportunity to play to where there's not been a lot of opportunity. And it'll catch on, and people will get to relearn a game that a lot of us that love baseball grew up playing, just in a fun way. And it'll create fans. People will maybe watch baseball now. It'll create opportunity, and it'll give kids just an opportunity of a choice to do something different and get outside and play in our fine facility.
I love the facility. You got a lot of sponsors out front, the brick pavers around it. I mean, it's a classy looking facility. It's got a net in case people haven't seen it yet. Go to the website, strikeoutbaseballusa.org. It's got a net, so it keeps the ball in play. It's got fake, pictures of people out there like you're playing. It just gives something where kids can get off the damn couch, put the video games away, put the cell phones away, and go play. Why else would you want this in other? I mean, you should want this in a lot of different places. Is this just the beginning? Do you see this as something that will catch on in other cities and other areas?
Lazarus came up. This is his baby, and he came up with this. He's had it for a long time, and we were able to meet, collaborate, put his dream into purpose. And yes, I think there's long-range plans that this will eventually, when you think big enough, what was pickleball 5 years ago?
Right.
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
And now look at what pickleball is. And, never heard of Top Golf 20 years ago or whatever it was taken. And then you see all of the different ideas that could come out of something. But I think the biggest thing, especially for Lansing and especially for these kids, they don't have to they can show up with nothing. Everything's going to be there. And, everything, as you mentioned, stays in the field of play, and it's for all ages. But what we want to do is we want to read in a different way and get away from the technology that exists that robs a lot of our kids and robs a lot of people of their time, and really, get outside and exercise and do things that we all got to do because we didn't have that. We didn't have that distraction. We didn't have that option. So this was one of the I just think it's the coolest and greatest concept that has been put in play, and it will always have been started in Lansing, and time will tell on how many more and how many cities adopt the idea of Jeff, and coming alongside and being honored to have my name on it is something you never dream of, and I'm proud that Jeff and the organization of Strikeout Baseball, unbelievable job in its first one.
Yeah, well, I obviously Lansing, very proud of you. The Cy Young Award winner, 8-time All-Star, World Series champ, Hall of Famer John Smoltz joining us here on X's and Bros. Do you think baseball's in a good spot, and does this help kids reinvigorate their passion and their love for the game?
Well, that's a loaded question, because what comes with that is a lot of bad reward systems that baseball has currently right now, and that started it trickles down all the way into youth baseball. I don't know how many people actually go and just watch a 7, 8-year-old, which I have grandsons now that age, and I'm watching it, and the intensity of which coaches pitch, and parents and coaches and the league, and the desire to win and dominate is greater than it's ever been, and I don't get it. I don't get it. The lack of development and the reward system of what Major League Baseball has is forced parents and kids to do things their body can't do. The fun factor is to a competitive play, competitive swing, competitive throw every ounce of every day, and that's not, there's a place for that. You start getting older and you start getting into elite groups and you start getting into these showcase games, but think about everything that has kind of grown, and it hasn't been organically, it's grown into the athletes are bigger, stronger, and they're certainly more equipped for what they're asked to do, but physically just pushed beyond the limits. And I just think baseball, as exciting as the last couple years have been, they got to figure out a way to deal with the commodity they're losing, and that's the guys on the mound. And they're not really doing anything about it. They're just doing the next thing, best thing, and that's just the next up. When 12-year-olds are having Tommy John, when 15-year-olds are probably close to having their second one, there's inherently wrong with what we're doing. And, I took Tom in my Hall of Fame speech 16 years ago, and it's gotten 30 times worse. Hasn't even resignated. Doesn't even matter what will the past say, and the concerns that former players have for the game. And, it's taken on a whole new level, and nobody talks about it because they don't want to. And if you talk about it, you better have some resolutions to it, and they don't have that either.
Yeah, I'm agreeing 100% with you. Everyone wants to say my kid plays travel baseball or travel this, travel that. And they start these travel leagues when these kids are 8 years old. I mean, when I was a kid, and I'm older than you, but when I was a kid, we played T-ball until we were 8, and it helped us learn the fundamentals. You don't have people who, A, know the fundamentals, or B, teach the fundamentals, because dad thinks he's going to walk off the field with some type of World Series championship, when his job should be to teach the child how to be a better player. So when he does get to high school, hopefully someday to college, they'll say you've been coached well. We've lost that concept. You can blame the game. I blame a lot of parents. I think they need to take responsibility. So I think we're on the same page there. You bring up arm trouble. Obviously, when you say that, immediately people think about the Detroit Tigers and Tarek Skubal. Power pitching, and you were a power pitcher, both as a starter and as a reliever, but as power pitching, what's the deep concern here with the number of arm troubles that we've seen, especially already this year, whether it be Edwin Diaz, Tarek Skubal, Carlos Rodon a year ago? What's the biggest concern you have?
Well, the biggest thing is we got people running the game that have no idea how to. And when you run the game, a data sheet and analytical sheet, you have no idea. And you've never thrown a ball. And you have you just see everything as a data point and a robotic kind of replacement. And the one thing that I've been saying forever is that this was coming, and it's going to keep getting worse. The narrative shouldn't be, when is Skubal going to get his Tommy John, and when is Skeens going to get his Tommy John. That shouldn't be the narrative. Like, I'll use an analogy that pretty close, but The NFL did some pretty drastic rule changes to keep their quarterbacks upright.
Correct.
Now, a lot of people hated it. A lot of people thought it was just a watered-down version. But the NFL realized if they lost their quarterbacks, they lost their commodity, they lost their appeal, and the game would suffer. So they keep their quarterbacks, for the most part, upright. We've lost every commodity, every matchup. Nobody even picks up a device to see who's pitching tomorrow because there aren't enough pitchers and there aren't enough starters that draw your attention to the field. So we've got this plug in place and just kind of 12 pitchers per two teams to get through a game. And they don't last because they're asked to do things that are impossible to last. And so, I want to see Tarek Stugel. I want to see him pitch beyond what he even thinks he can pitch. I want to see him have a 20-year career. And we're always looking for the outlier. We're looking for someone going to escape this epidemic, and nobody does. I can't think of one player, one pitcher. Now, Skeens is in that boat where he's going to be the one that everyone looks to see could he have cracked the mold. But when you have generational pitchers, they come around once in a blue moon. Like in my time, Nolan Ryan was a freak. Maybe J.L. Richard before he got hurt, but you couldn't come up with five. Like you can't. Because genetically, that is something that they're known for. We have 30 plants, and we're creating something that genetically you can't keep it up. And guys break all the time now, and nobody wants to deal with it. Nobody wants to answer it. They just say, this is the way it is. They use a cop-out, childish excuse that says this is a byproduct of youth baseball. No, youth baseball. Major League Baseball has created youth baseball. It's not about, they're not just taking what everybody has. Doctors, but they have tried to stop the madness of Tommy John surgery in 12, 14, 15. I had mine at 2,400 innings. And then when I had my Tommy John, I pitched another almost 900 innings with no issues with my elbow for the most part on that ligament. They're having them at 200 innings. They're having them in college. They're being drafted in college, knowing that the young man needs a Tommy John and thinking he'll be fine in a year and a half.
Some kids want them. Again, John, some kids want this Tommy John surgery. They think it's going to make them stronger. They're having it early in their lives. High schoolers are wanting it.
That's the myths I've been trying to address ever since my Hall of Fame speech. And, I was the first ever Tommy John recipient as a pitcher to make the Hall of Fame. And, the sadness that I see in the game, and without rule changes, without integrating something that makes these organizations who do not care about these guys getting hurt, because they just got more guys that are undeveloped and they just push them into the big leagues to eat up innings. This is what we have. So when you look about the generational pitcher that exists today that we'll never see again is Justin Verlander. He's about to retire. We'll never see a pitcher like that again. To me, that's a sad statement.
Agreed.
We'll never see a Cole, a Wheeler, a Kershaw. And when I say these things, what I mean is you're never going to see them long enough to get to that generational pitcher, to be able to be the guy you can count on. And I want to be wrong so bad. I want to be wrong where in the next 6 years, somehow that number down and we don't deal with it or talk about it. But that's not been the case, and it won't be the case because of everything I just said. They're asking the body to do something that is impossible. I was considered a power pitcher that never grunted and never max effort a pitch. Not one time in my career. And I could throw 98, 99 miles an hour. But I knew, first of all, our reward system was different. I knew that if I did that, there was no chance of success long term. And so we've gotten addicted to a computer spreadsheet that spits out information that misses bats, that throws a ball 98, 99 miles an hour with backspin and spin, and we are gripping and ripping. And the recipe is exactly the way it's gone.
Yep. And it doesn't, John, it doesn't help that miles per hour is put up on the scoreboard for everyone to see all the time. And pitchers notice
exactly
it.
Right.
Yep. pitchers notice it all the time. It's a fine line, but only, 3 pitchers last year threw 200 innings or more. I don't expect Mickey Lolich or Denny McClain, okay? I don't expect 350 innings, but I'm surprised that only 3 of them got to 200. Real quick, Saturday you got a big event at Strikeout Baseball in Lansing. What is it for? When people show up there, how can they help?
Well, the biggest is introduce the game and know that it's like pickup basketball. That park is for every kid and anybody who wants to come and play and utilize that space. It costs nothing. You see basketball courts, and the one thing about basketball is you just need a basketball. Mm-hmm. And then anybody can go play and do their pickup. You just need a soccer ball when you go to the field. Well, bat is a little more complicated, and we've got bats and we've got balls and we've got some gloves there so that this type of show and play and have a blast and learn the game and make up certain rules if you want to. That's the other thing we've lost. The ability to have an imagination. So it's for the kids, and yes, it's for the adults, but that's what we're trying to do is kick off each year, reintroduce it, and let people know how to play the game and how much fun it is.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to see you there Saturday. Hey, a quick thought. I've got about 30 seconds. Quick thought. Framber Valdez gets ejected last night after giving up 7 earned runs, 10 runs, 9 hits, 3 bombs, back-to-back bombs, hits Trevor Story. Had to be intentional. I don't know if you watched it or not. How often are pitchers put in that situation where, they say, I'm out. I don't want this anymore. How bad of a look is that from a Framber Valdez?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen bad looks before and seen bad games before. And sometimes you kind of cross the threshold in your mind. And having not seen that particular scenario, tough to really talk about it. But everyone's going to have their bad games. You just hope it doesn't cross that line.
Yeah, and you hope you don't lose your teammates. Hey, you've been a great teammate here this morning to Jeff and Strikeout Baseball and all the people who love the game of baseball. I think you're the best analyst in sports. I don't say that because you're on here. I think you do a fantastic job. You and Joe Davis are dynamite. Thanks for the time. I'll see you Saturday. I look forward to it. It's been an honor having you on. Have a great day.
All right, thanks for having me on.
You bet. That's John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer, joining us here on X's and BrO's, NLCS MVP, Silver Slugger Award winner, I might add, as well as a Hall of Famer and a Cy Young Award winner. Andy, thank you for all your help today. Great stuff. Covering the game last night and getting sound for us this morning. We're back with you tomorrow, 6 o'clock here on X's and BrO's. Don't forget the huge show later on today, 3 till 7 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the huge show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday